Okay, well, I might kick off. Thank you for joining. This is the community building subcommittee meeting, the last session of DAO Day, and hopefully a little bit more fun. We now that the draft white paper V0.01 is released, there will be a number of weeks to discuss and take feedback and flesh out the concepts, but also what the community building group can really do, how it links in with the membership token and talking about the pay to rely model. I think once everybody gets a chance to just read the proposals and stress test them, we'll all get a better sense of what the community building can really look like. And I am definitely not an expert in that area, so we'll be grabbing any expertise with both hands if it's volunteered. I'll open the floor. It's a free-flowing agenda today, and it can just be capping off what we have discussed previously throughout the day. But the one thing that I would love to flesh out is whether we can start organising an in-person event. The even just to have a gathering of people in person to give a brief of the white paper, split into working groups, have pens and papers and colours going towards thinking about this would be great. We've got a couple of offers across Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane to host spaces, and that's between I think 30 and 50 people, but if we needed more we could. And so really just to throw it to the room here, if anything comes to mind around event, like other event topics, things that we could do, POAPs, what event would you like to attend in person, and particularly if you needed to fly in from another state?
Just to kick it off, I think I'd just a lot of the crypto community just have meetup events. So I've attended a couple of Brisbane events for Cardano and Ethereum.
Yeah.
And it's really very casual. It's in a like in a what's effectively a boardroom,
Yeah.
and you've got a couple of developers just showing off projects and having a conversation about what they're doing. So whether it's something like that, and so the way that it's developed over, I've been to about 3. It's sort of developed organically, so no one really knows what's going to happen. We just attend the events and see what what it's actually like to work together in person. And then someone will just throw in an agenda and let it develop organically, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's of much assistance, but it seems to work somehow. Like,
it's a community, and yeah, I think exactly. What is that, something that they have a standing meetup like once every month, or?
That's right. Yeah. There's no set date, but there's a community organizer who effectively just tries to arrange it so it's once a month. And then it's really just a get together at like either at a like in a conference room, a hall, and then usually we just go to a pub or something afterwards and have a couple of drinks and chat. Yeah.
And live music if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Well, so I think what we need to put a call out for is a community manager, and help get some regular presences, across a number of states. Yeah, no, I like that idea because it gives people something to look forward to and even get dressed up for, dare I say, rather than the pajamas and the track pants that we've all gotten used to in COVID.
Well, I think it's fitting for the crypto community where it's a hoodie and the cap.
Yeah. Well, and Gordon, you've got the Digital Playhouse and the space. What are you finding with, do you have weekly or regular events that you're bringing people into?
Yeah, look, we do have weekly events. It's very grassroots though, and it really varies. And at the moment, it's very hard to get anyone to come because they're not interested in crypto at the moment. So Our lecturers are doing more online with accountants, just through a Facebook group, and then she hosts numerous events. And I think she's grown to about 500 in her group very quickly.
Wow.
So that's for that profession, that time, they're extremely they're busy people. So I guess probably like, yeah, it depends on who our customer base is. And in the early stages, I guess we've got the development phase, but then in the later phases, it's like, well, the user phase.
Yeah, agree. And so knowing our customer and knowing our segments is also probably an exercise. It's partly done throughout the draft white paper, but not consolidated or summarized. And nor is there any targeted strategy against sort of preparing communications or forums or even specific channels yet per segment. So that's that probably is worthy of comment in the Discord channel, in the community building one. And if we put the ideas out there, then as more people join the Discord, that's typically organically how organically roles in the DAO eventuate, because somebody poses an idea, new entrants come in and look through the Discord channel threads, and hey, presto, if that matches their skill set and the time that they've got available, then they'll apply or make a note to help out. So just, yeah, the Discord server is up and going. Encourage you to join if you haven't already. I think there's a few comments today with feedback on the white paper, which will all have to be addressed and logged over these coming weeks. So
I think I guess there's some different blockchain communities have their own collective as well. Like the Ethereum community in Brisbane, say, for example, the Algo fam at the moment is like, it's a great collective. To tap into those different communities, to invite them in for a purpose. So
Absolutely.
they're all really busy building their projects, and I think there would have been, 3 months, 6 months ago, people would have been very interested join BADSL. We're very interested in learning about DAOs, but now they're so immersed in a DAO, but they'd have a lot to contribute back as well. So I think there's some good targeting into those groups, for in-person events. They've already got well-established communities, and they'll be very interested in, like, there's a lot of new people coming into the space. So around, say, like Mel Ventures, say, for example, in Brisbane, they've got a lot of people coming in to build projects and to have funding. And if there's a service like this, they'll want to know as startups. There'll also be, I guess, the VC community will want to know to see what's available to help their project succeed and do it right. So I don't think that's going to be too much trouble. It's probably about who we want to get in early.
Yeah.
So some ideas.
Yeah, and it came up earlier, your contact, Babu, Vic Wells is going to touch base with you to try and reach out to him and see if she can bounce off any of the, with the Solidity programmers, the pay to rely requirements, and see how simple or complex it actually is, and really go through that process of how hard is it to find a Solidity developer that can help you on an ongoing basis.
Sure.
If you're going to hire like someone to be your in-house developer versus the consultant approach.
Yeah, Babu has brought some great people. I'm doing the advanced diploma of applied blockchain at the moment for everyone else. So Babu is one of our lecturers with Southern Cross University. He's now at Southern Cross University as well. And he does go to regular, I think it's every fortnight. There's an Ethereum engineers meetup type, like, so there's some really highly qualified people there. One professor, one doctor, Peter, I can't remember his last name, I'd find out. But yeah, I'm sure we can find someone through Babu.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, even just to document the exercise of how to articulate your requirements, how to approach a developer, at what stage is too early and too late, or is it just a matter of turning up to those regular meetups and bouncing things off in the more organic fashion, which we're not doing so much because we're an online community still, and we're our own community with a small number of developers, more of a number of lawyers. So work in
Yeah,
progress.
there is a developer that has worked with Consensus before, who has a law firm as well in Brisbane. I think we could find some resources.
Yeah, and Leah, I don't know if you're in a position to talk. I'll just come back to you if not. But the question is, I know you've been doing a lot of content writing. Forgive me, I'm getting a note that my connection is unstable. Can you hear me? Or did I freeze?
I can hear you.
Oh, great. Well, just your insights, Leah, on content, how it's being received, how you're figuring out the messages that you'd like to write about. What are you thinking at the moment?
So I write for a couple of communities, one being Albright, which is predominantly Web 2 audience. And then I'm hopefully coming on board to write for my BFF as well. So one of them is very prescribed in terms of they have very particular agendas and the topics that needs to be covered. And then the other one is a little bit more free flowing and just generating content that kind of crosses over between, I guess, Web 2 and Web 3 and making it very easy for the audience to digest. So it has been kind of just making it up as you go so far for me. And I've largely just been driving the topics and what I choose to write on. But then if this, if the thing with BFF goes through, then that will be a more sort of structured way, and they obviously have a bigger team, etc., that will be driving the agenda. Generally, the how-to and broader topics like what is an NFT, how does a DAO work, those kind of topics seem to be receiving a lot more response from the community, as well as very specific things like, for example, the Tiffany's NFT thing that went through. It's obviously a brand that everyone's familiar with, and them crossing over into Web3 generated a lot of response from Web2 community and people interested in exploring what they're doing and how they're doing it. But that's, I don't know whether that will translate to a lo-fi DAO, but I would imagine we could definitely do something. And last time, obviously, Amin and I sort of spoke about doing something around IP for NFTs. So that's something definitely we can explore. I don't know, I was going through security before, so I missed the comments that you were making before in case you were calling on me. So yeah, I don't know if I landed where you wanted me to land.
No, exactly. It's so helpful. And I love hearing from you, because I'm the lawyer and I write as I'm trained, but you're the person of the people and you prepare things in the way that relates to them, and they want to read it and they want to engage with it. So it's just, I'm a sponge whenever you talk. But I think the brands and partnering with them, for Lo-Fi DAO, that could be trying to partner with the likes of A16Z. They're not a law firm, but they've got some pretty good legal team that's got cred in the industry, or like a collection of law firms or regulators we could try to produce things with.
But even people like Upside DAO, right? That could be also interesting, because there is such a unique mix of skill in that syndicate or DAO, however you want to call it. That could be quite interesting as well. And they obviously see a lot of deal flow, especially at the early stages. And for their audience, or at least the companies that they look at, Lo-Fi DAO could be quite interesting, because I would imagine that's kind of our primary target market.
Well, we started talking about capital raising, and I defer to the term capital raise to get money in to do activities. But the correct language in not-for-profits and charities is fundraising. And so capital raise in terms of issue of shares in return for money, that's the traditional connotations of capital raising. And whether we do it in it's more like shares in a company, or as fundraising, seeking donations from the public, there are different regulations that apply. And if it is a donation, I think that would totally put upside, because the whole purpose is to invest. So we have to be very careful in where we go, so as not to cut ourselves off from the funds that we probably need to get to the next level. Yeah, no, fascinating. Thanks, Leah. Nupur, I'll bring you up. I know you're joining very early morning from Germany. If you're in a position to chat, is there anything at this stage? I know it's a very Australian member base and focus, but things that you could share with that would attract a German audience or even broader European?
What I was thinking is that there are a lot of small associations that are doing a lot on these sites. So maybe like Women in Blockchain, there are different sort of such networks. So it would be good to make them aware of at least this network, so that people start knowing, okay, this is something from research side, especially from law side, that people are doing. Even in some sort of conferences from tax and legal side, we can have some space to say like 15-20 minutes presentation. Okay, what is our purpose? What is our role? That will help for both Europe and Asia.
Yeah, so a very quick recording that summarizes the rules of the DAO and then the basic tenets of the proposed white paper, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yes, that will be one. And then presenting our work also. No, you did DeFi one, and then you did the DeFi submission. We will have more submission in the coming months. So once we present that submission, we can list down, okay, we did together this as a community in this month, and these are our further ideas for the coming months. We are planning to do this. So that
Yes.
it generates some vibe in the people to join the network. I think it's not only that we are looking for big people, even individuals. If more individuals join, the community grows and they bring new ideas too. So it would be good. And other thing, what I was thinking was on the membership fee. If we can, so now we have an annual membership fee, or how does it work?
It's just a joining fee, and the committee has the ability in the rules to set an annual fee. But what you've paid right now isn't necessarily an annual amount that will be US $130 each year. It's just specified as the joining fee at this stage.
Okay. I am just thinking for some people that maybe if they don't see the benefit, they will think that why should we just put so much of money as an individual, right? If some people may think like this. So how to bridge that gap to attract that audience on these? Some may pay, okay, like they might not have problem. With a crowd that cannot relate to the topic, they need to understand before putting the money. And that's what I was thinking, how to bridge that gap.
It's a great question because like I'm allowed to join a lot of Discord servers unless they're token gated, and that's basically for free. Majority, if not probably 99.9% of them don't have a membership application process. I think only LexDAO is the one that I've also filled out a membership application form for. But if I'm in the Discord, what triggers me to go and buy the governance token associated with that project, and how much do I want to spend? Like, I think currently the frame of mind is, if a person jumps into the Discord server, maybe they like what they see or they like the discussion, then that will prompt their investment or their trading in the governance tokens. But there's still not a value around or a price that represents the value of participating in the DAO community. It's more so that if a person has shown a lot of contribution, a lot of comments in the Discord, support in showing up to the events, then they're the ones more likely to be put on as a core contributor and get a stipend. So they get paid rather than paying a whatever the membership fee is. So there's a few different dynamics at work there, but I do hear you, and I do take the point. The only other one being the proof pass, whereas I think that was 1 or 2 ETH to mint originally, and that's like a membership to the best network of developers and NFT artists. So 1 ETH
Yeah, because see,
is quite expensive compared to our membership fee. But it was an
yeah,
NFT.
the thing,
Yeah.
yeah, the thing is that we are trying to gain the audience. At this point, we may lose it. So maybe some monthly sort of membership fee will be better. Okay, then people say, okay, I have to pay say 20 euros, 10 euros in a monthly fee. And if I don't like, I can quit. So more people will be willing to try. If they straightforward have to pay and they say, okay, suppose I don't like it, what the money goes waste. So just to lure the, maybe we bring in this after few months, once we have enough credibility or people start knowing us, then bringing this won't be a problem at this point. Because I'm just thinking from, okay, this will not generate much money for the DAO, this membership, even if 100, 200 people pay it. But at least we will lose the opportunity of more people trying it and spreading the word of mouth.
Yeah, the membership fee doesn't generate any money for the DAO. It's to fulfill the mutuality principle at this stage, which is a tax concept of everything that goes in is applied for really that members' access and operation in the DAO. Therefore, the tax law looks at it and says it would be unfair to tax it as income of the association if all of it needs to be used for the member. And so there's no fat in it. The only treasury balance of the $8,000 or so was from the GoFundMe campaign that I did before officially launching the DAO. So that's all we've got. So we do need to get into either donations and gifts or capital raise through the distribution of that money token. But all of that is subject to discussion over these following weeks before it can be approved and we can put some proper mechanics around it all.
Yeah. Could I ask a quick question, Joni?
Yeah, fire away.
In terms of who we're trying to attract to the DAO and through this membership that was just discussed, are we looking at sort of, well, broadly speaking, B2B, or is this more a B2C kind of situation?
I think it's both. In the sense that I think the lawyers, and I'll deal with lawyers first, it's the lawyers in the law firms that are really wanting to do work involving DAOs, more so at the beginning to mid levels of law. There are some senior and partner level lawyers that are wanting to get their heads around it and build practices. So by the lawyers becoming involved and getting familiar, I think that they will help explain to the law firms, which then helps it become a B2B model. So it's not just individuals that have to go out and incorporate a company and get a legal license in that company. They can take their law firms through whatever approvals are needed for that law firm to be the member of LawFi DAO and for it to have a number of authorized representatives that are providing whatever the pay to rely products are. Because I don't see a lot of law firms wanting to be members, and that's what I've seen. It's a number of individuals that are wanting to get involved, understand it a bit more, and then put the proposition back to their business.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
But also, it is regulators and the judiciary and policymakers, and I am aware that it's impossible to get approvals to attend live and be recorded, but there's still a contingent of them that have been watching the sessions already. So they are definitely an audience. It's hard to market to them in order to get them members and actively involved, but they are already benefiting as it was intended they would benefit from having these discussions. Sorry, did that answer your question? Because I've only really just dealt with the legal profession side of things.
Just on that note as well, Joni. So is it sort of just law firms as companies that will be key contributors, or are you looking to have individual lawyers as well that can join? Or do you have to be like an authorized representative of the law firm?
The key thing about joining through a limited liability company is to limit the liability.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm not sure that a person can get their register. I don't know that you can be a practicing lawyer as a sole trader. I think you have to have either a company or be an employee or a partner of a law practice.
Yeah.
So they can't.
It was more.
Yeah.
It was more in relation to, like, if you're a key contributor, do you have to be I guess, does it have to be specifically a law firm, or can you have sort of insights and analyses that aren't coming directly from the law firm themselves? It can be from like a specific person. Do you sort of know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and this is where there are legal products in the pay to rely model and non-legal products. So if you're a member in your individual capacity, and you're as an individual, you're a sole trader, and maybe you've done your you got your certification as a financial analytics in finance. I think it's the CFA. If you as an individual hold the qualification and then the relevant professional indemnity insurance, under the non-legal product, you could submit some sort of financial analysis of a token, or like an investment thesis, something that you're trained to do based on that particular qualification. And so that's the bucket for all of the non-legal products, but where you still have a professional designation. There's no extra bucket yet for non-legal, non-professional. So like blogs,
I see, yeah,
or other things. So if there is demand, then absolutely willing to discuss it and see how it fits. But it's that I'm paying for it because a professional or a qualified person has put it out there in the market, and that for it being out there, it lifts the standards of information. So we try to promote standardization. But if they actually want to rely on it, they pay to rely.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Also, I was thinking that we have to create some atmosphere to bring in some researchers also. There are a lot of people doing PhDs on this topic. Even I met recently when I told her about this. So it would be good we can create something from that point of view, so that we have good people who can promote from the who can work from the content writing side also.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah, agree. And we do have a few academics already signed up as members, and in their individual capacities or their own companies, not through the university or the academic institution. So yeah, first level targets are probably the individuals, and then have it siphon through at the organization level. Yeah.
Joni, if we had like at the moment we've got Lawfy DAO, what's the message, the pitch that we're putting out there to attract the people, you know?
Not a lot. In fact, it's the opposite. It really makes me nervous about being in breach of the law. And so that 20 member limit is something that I'm really conscious to manage, so much so that we may pause any confirmations of membership applications. So if you're not already a member and paid up, I think the conservative lawyer in me, until at least we get these applications in, minded actually not to accept new members. This doesn't stop people from joining DAO days and contributing to the discussions and listening to the recordings, being in the Discord server, but actually that it really just pauses the accrual of the time tokens if you're not a member or if you're not accepted as a member, which the committee still has its right to accept or not accept based on the rules of the association or the DAO. So I
Okay,
say
so
that with hesitation because I would love to market it and be big bang, make a splash like our logo, but I think we're still probably a few weeks away from that.
sure. So in the early days, just letting it organically grow into Discord and not posting into, you know, larger crypto communities that might,
Yeah.
or like dev communities more. So, you know, it's a dev community chat. I mean, there's 100 people in there building projects. They may be interested in it, but all of a sudden you could get 50 joining, you know. I'm curious, probably just like listening, not necessarily wanting to build, but joining just like myself. I'm not a lawyer. I'm interested because I needed some services, you know, learning very early. So I wanted to engage a lawyer to find out some basics to get started, some initial directions. So yeah, I think for me, that's like, yeah, who would we, that's the community that I hang around in, where to getting people to build projects. So we're in the Stacks blockchain. So our whole game is to get people to build on Stacks. So it would be, here's the go-to place. So if you want to learn, join in. So what would be our message to people from the user side, from the smaller, I guess at the moment we're still in a really organic stage of growth of this industry.
Yeah, it's going to be painfully slow.
In a pitch that I'm saying there, what would, okay.
Forgive me, there's a delay in my internet connection. I didn't mean to speak over you. But it's so hard because I want to move like lightning, like the other DAOs that I see. And this exercise forces us to be slower than we might otherwise wish. So no sort of active marketing or call out, just very organic requests at this stage.
And I think if we start
Awesome, that's great.
Sorry. Yeah,
Sorry.
I was thinking even if we have small group of members and we start focusing more on developing quality content for some time, so other people will automatically start coming in, because I think it's more now good content on this part is missing. And if we come out from law and regulation perspective, some good guidance and even support the policy maker, it will gain traction automatically. And I agree that bringing in a lot of people will not help from the technical side. So it's better to bring in good sort of technical people and work together with them to bring out some quality content to the market.
Yeah, because a DAO can grow too fast and then can't allocate its tasks properly enough, or it hasn't identified the right skills. So you're absolutely right. Leah, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, my question was actually just following on the content and kind of the type of content that you are envisaging, I guess, because it being a lo-fi DAO, are we expected to produce sort of technical content? And to Nufor's point, I guess, yeah, where does it land? And is there an expectation of it needing to be legal content as such, or is it just to attract and raise attention? Sort of, yeah, where does it lead? Because I guess I'm thinking from my own perspective, right? I'm not a lawyer. Would I be able to produce any relevant content to lo-fi DAO?
Oh, absolutely. And so there is next to no social media strategy or content strategy at the moment to, and when I say content, I mean written as well as video. So packaging up some of the sections of what we're already saying in these DAO Day sessions into really hard, like exciting snippets that are shared across many social media platforms, or that we give to media outlets, or even training sessions to regulators. But the written content side, no, it would definitely not be the desire is that it's not written by a legally trained person. It's got to distill what we're talking about, the key messages to DAO founders and those that are involved, and just say, here's the latest membership form, discussion about best practices in what you should know about joining a DAO, and quite snippy content for Twitter and LinkedIn at least. And again, I'm sure that there's more ways of looking at this, but I am not the creative, and I've never come up with a social media strategy. So it would be really on the creatives to try and explain this, or how people can get involved in a visually appealing way that's perhaps not just written text.
Yeah, I think the right people will come into the space, like a community manager that's handling the socials, that do that good, consistent messaging. So yeah, that's not me either. But and an events person. So I think it's probably identifying, what roles we need to fill, and attracting those people in.
Yeah, and it's almost like that knowing enough to be dangerous. But if you've been listening into the content and you go to the Ethereum community or the Cardano or Solana or Algo, whatever it is, and you see a bunch of projects launching and they're calling themselves DAOs, and they haven't even consulted a lawyer, maybe because it's too expensive, you can literally just point them to the resource and say, hey, you should invest 10 hours in looking at this to at least be able to phrase your questions correctly to a lawyer, or to realize that you need proper legal advice. And at that stage, we may have more pay-to-rely products that make it easier to access the advice or the templates that they need. So I think it's about knowing the content, or knowing that we exist, and helping really the innovators and the contributors to DAOs.
Absolutely. And just on that note as well, Joni, so with some of the events that I've been to, so just a bit of backstory, I'm supposed to be admitted in probably 3 or 4 months. But I've worked in law for, thank you, I've worked in law for about 8 years, and before that did a bit of brokering for a large risk management firm. But from the events that I've been to, there seems to be like because there's a bit of a gray area, and we're trying to sort of identify which law applies to what and how to classify cryptocurrencies. Does it fall within the Corporations Act, or are there any ACL issues there? That there's almost like a unspoken consensus in the crypto community that there is no regulation at this point, and that we should just start developing. And so the issue that I felt like, and I've tried to say this, and obviously because I'm not yet admitted, I can't give legal advice, but I'm like, look, you need to come and see us. We or see someone that specializes in this area, because everything that you're telling me sounds very much like you could fall within the ambit of a financial product in the Corporations Act, or you're making representations to the public here about certain rewards, and it's starting to sound a little bit like a lottery. And so I think the benefit of LawFi DAO is it's sort of like almost a preliminary platform for these people to go to and be like, oh, actually, maybe we do need to seek the advice of a legal professional. And it just gives them some information so that they can go knocking at the door of any firm that specializes in this, or professionals that specialize in this area, and then go deeper into it if they need to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, and just one example that comes to mind is there's a person, the name escapes me, but he has devoted more than full-time effort to knowing the whole Curve DAO ecosystem. And he writes this, I think it's a weekly newsletter. And just by being in the Discord, following the proposals, keeping in touch with all of the relevant actors and then associated protocols, he is the beating heart of that DAO, because he invests in knowing it and then explaining it in plain language, but with his perspective too, and people have come to really appreciate what he has to say about where that community and ecosystem is at any one point. And so like a newsletter writer or the ecosystem heart, I think is the task at hand is producing written content, but it's so much more than that because you're that connector, the glue. So I would love for somebody to be that in LawFi DAO, and that actually people go to, you know, the general public, even law firms, they go to that person's newsletter rather than any of the lawyers that are core contributors, because that's the pulse.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Leah, if that's resonating with you, I'd love to develop that concept further and see if we can attract someone or like you. Amina,
I'm happy to help, happy to give it a stab.
I would love that. Amina,
Yeah, no,
True in this.
I
can
just
help you in the lead. Okay.
I'll go ahead first.
Yeah.
So Nick, yeah, that it totally resonates. It's funny today. Joni was talking about Aragon Court. So if you go to Aragon DAO, well, it's the full-on promotion of look, spin up a DAO in your bedroom, on a number of fronts. So it's like as I was diving down into the rabbit hole of DAOs, came across Aragon Court. I went, this is awesome. I can just do this at home. It's no problems. And then as you go down the pathway and start to look at the jurisdictions, and then ended up in the space of, well, where are we going to have our jurisdiction? Are we going to go over to El Salvador? Then we went to Marshall Islands. We went around and we eventually talked to Joni, because we had these very concerns. So it is absolutely relevant if anyone's just spinning up a DAO between their mates, and it's going to grow into something big. They do need to pay attention. So that's a really great message that
Absolutely.
we need to get out there.
Oh, great. Nupur, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was saying that in newsletter, I can also contribute. That's not a point. Let's just think of starting it and then we can figure out some ways. And the other thing I had in mind is that apart from Discord, is there any possibility to open an open discussion forum somewhere so that like Quora sort of thing, not exactly Quora, but at least some people who are forming DAO, they have some legal questions. They can just interact with our community by posting their question, even they are not part of Discord, because I think for Discord, they have to be member of DAO. Is it so? Or anybody can join Discord in coming times? What's your plan with Discord?
At the moment, anybody can join the Discord server. It's not token gated, and you're not required to be a member. But there is the chat. You can log a question through the website, but it's not really easy to find. So perhaps that's another web page to log issues or discussion points.
Maybe sort of a open forum where people like sort of GitHub for questions from legal side, that if anybody comes, they can see others' discussion, so that it will create more. We will also get to understand what problem people are facing in this community, this space, while they are setting up new entities or say doing some crypto transaction or token transaction. And we will be able to engage with the community also, because they know that these are group of lawyers or people from different interdisciplinary background, and we can find answers to all our questions here.
Yeah, so we're currently using Confluence, which is one of the Jira products. It's like the Google Docs, and you can't access that unless you're a member. And that's because those documents are intended to be, or could be, pay to rely one, and that includes the membership form. But you're in this morning's community call, Anouk offered that there's something similar to Notion and GitHub, Lumio, I think, because already Jira and Confluence the membership fees cover it, but it's just so expensive. And if we can access the complementary tools like GitHub and Notion, it's given me cause to consider whether we or the form in which we could pass a special resolution to make sure that people are comfortable that their membership fees are reserved for some other purpose, like paying a developer, and so that they can feel more freely able to access some content, but not necessarily all content will be appropriate to have available for everybody to see as it's being drafted, for example.
Yeah, that is true. But just as for community development, we need people from business segment or entrepreneurs. So it would be good that they don't know about, some don't have much knowledge about law, but they know that, okay, this is a go-to forum. This question came to my mind. If I pose this question, somebody will give some direction. Of course, we will put that a disclaimer that this is not a legal advice and all those, but at least they get some direction. No?
Yeah. So I know what you mean. The way that I'm dealing with that at the moment is that no question is answered by me or any Law-Fi DAO member in that fashion. That if they have a question, then they raise it on the community call, and it's dealt with in a general fashion on the community call. If what they're actually seeking is legal advice, then they need to currently go to a law firm or a lawyer, not Law-Fi DAO.
Okay, but that's the challenge. How many people would be willing to join the community call? So if we have some open platform, people, suppose somebody is working sometime and some question comes to their mind, they can directly pose that question on some.
It's too risky. It would cause too much potential liability. The community calls, if they cannot make them, they can watch the recording.
Namur, I think in Badsall, there's in the other Discord, certain people had come in from time to time ask about things, and professionals reached out to them, said, look, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. And so probably taking them offline to engage with them, and then they could offer that service, I guess, if they choose. But
yeah, Law-Fi DAO is not a directory yet, and nor to have any of its members who are lawyers answering those questions directly. It's just to be dealt with generally in the community calls for the benefit of lifting the standards of information, not as a forum for people to indirectly feel like they're getting their legal questions answered. Yeah, I know the internet connection is unstable. Forgive me if I'm cutting out.
So Jenny, just in the Discord, then you've got a moderator there.
In the Law-Fi DAO.
Yeah.
Discord, it's just Jules Ioannidis and myself at the moment. There's been no moderator appointed. We're just the admins. That there hasn't been a lot of conversation yet, but as that increases, we'll look to either perform that role ourselves or try to get somebody to do it.
Yeah, sure. Being an open, obviously, it's like they run 24/7. So being an open Discord, or they may verify themselves. So there's always someone posting things inappropriate or whatever. It just happens. So it's having some people there to police that, if you want to call it.
Yeah. Yep. Completely agree. All right. Sorry, Amina, I know you were trying to speak before. Don't know if you're in a position to speak.
Hi, Jernine.
Hi.
Hi. Congratulations on getting the white paper out.
Yeah,
that's really good. I'll read it over the weekend. I did listen to the last recording for this meeting last week, and I'm quite interested in producing the content, the educative part. I remember Leah and Amina was talking about the NFT IP collection, and you also had the NFT storybook as well. So I'm quite interested in those two. So I'm not an expert at all, but I'm happy to be guided.
Well, maybe that's the project. We allocate you as the recorder of insights as we go through the process of creating our first NFT children's storybook. And so next week's session, maybe we have some creative thought bubbles that spark what the first children's story can be. And you sort of document that process, and then how we consider the IP, because I suppose it would be jointly created by all of us, and then we'll need an illustrator and package it up in an NFT, and how you can make, when you have Rainbow Wallet and you can see your NFT image or video file. I wonder whether we need to have the illustrations recorded as a video file to make it feel like you're walking through a storybook.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. Yeah, I'm happy to do that next week. And
that would be really amazing, because I've got 3 kids and I've tried to explain cryptocurrencies to them. I've been talking about it for years and I still can't explain it. Like the simplest way. The simplest way that I say it is like, just imagine there's an invisible infrastructure layer in the sky, and we can now take ownership in part of that, and that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, well, so I'll put some prompts together and encourage you to do so too. We'll devote maybe the last 30 minutes or last 20 minutes of next week's session to coming up with the first concept of our NFT storybook. That'll be fun.
Sounds good.